Have you ever pondered why the world was thrust twice into global conflict in the span of just 3 decades? We're about to journey into the depths of history, exploring the intricate web of causes and events that ignited 2 world wars. Today, we delve into the causes and key events that shaped these 2 monumental conflicts. World War I, a conflict ignited by a web of alliances, imperialism, nationalism, and militarism. These 4 elements intertwined and fed off each other, setting the stage for a conflict of unprecedented scale. Firstly, the alliance system. Europe was divided into 2 main camps: the Triple Entente, France, Russia, and the United Kingdom, and the Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy. These alliances weren't just for show. When one nation was attacked, its allies were obliged to defend it. This system created a domino effect, turning a local conflict into a global war. Next, we have imperialism. The thirst for colonies and resources led to intense rivalries among European powers. Africa and Asia became the battlegrounds for these imperial ambitions, fueling tensions back in Europe. Then there was nationalism, particularly in the Balkans, a melting pot of ethnicities and national identities. The desire for independence from the Austro-Hungarian Empire was growing. This led to a series of crises, each one escalating the tensions a notch higher. The final piece of the puzzle was militarism. European powers had been investing heavily in their military capabilities. This arms race created a sense of readiness for war, even an eagerness in some quarters. The military machines were primed and ready to roll at a moment's notice. Now, imagine all these elements in play simultaneously. A tangled web of alliances, imperial ambitions clashing, nationalist sentiments boiling over, and military machines waiting in the wings. All that was needed was a spark. That spark came in the form of the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, in Sarajevo in 1914 by a Serbian nationalist. This act of violence set off a chain reaction. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, triggering the alliance system, and before anyone knew it, Europe was plunged into war. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914 was the spark that ignited this explosive mix. From the assassination of a prince to the trenches of the Western Front, World War I was a conflict of unprecedented scale. It all began with the fatal shooting of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, by a Serbian nationalist in Sarajevo in 1914. This assassination sparked the July Crisis, which led Austria-Hungary to declare war on Serbia. The web of alliances that crisscrossed Europe at the time meant that what could have been a localized conflict quickly escalated into a full-blown war. Countries were swiftly drawn into the conflict due to their obligations to defend their allies. This chain reaction transformed the assassination of a single political figure into a global conflict. The Western Front became a symbol of the war's brutality. Trench warfare was the order of the day here, with millions of soldiers from France, the United Kingdom, and Germany facing each other in horrific conditions. Day after day, they lived and died in muddy, rat-infested trenches while artillery shells rained down upon them. On the Eastern Front, the fighting was just as intense. Here, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Russia clashed across the vast landscapes of Eastern Europe. This front was marked by fluid warfare and massive casualties on both sides. But World War I was not confined to Europe. It quickly spread beyond the continent, drawing in colonies and dominions of the European powers. From the deserts of the Middle East to the jungles of Africa, the war truly became a global conflict. Finally, after 4 long years of fighting, the war ended with the armistice of November 11, 1918. Exhaustion, economic strain, and internal unrest led to the collapse of the Central Powers, which included Germany, Austria, Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. The war ended with the collapse of the Central Powers, but the seeds of another conflict were already being sown. Even as the world celebrated the end of the war to end all wars, the stage was being set for an even more devastating conflict in the years to come. World War II, a conflict born out of the ashes of the first, fueled by resentment, the rise of totalitarian regimes, and global economic instability. The Treaty of Versailles, signed at the end of World War I, imposed severe penalties on Germany, including hefty reparations and significant territorial losses. This left the German economy crippled and its people embittered, creating fertile ground for the rise of extremist ideologies. Enter Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. Backed by a wave of nationalistic fervor, they promised to restore Germany's former glory. Hitler's regime, along with Benito Mussolini's fascist government in Italy, pursued aggressive expansionist policies, blatantly defying the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. Meanwhile, the world watched. The policy of appeasement, most notably exemplified by the Munich Agreement of 1938, attempted to keep peace by granting Hitler's demands for territorial expansion. But this policy only emboldened the Nazi regime as it failed to prevent the onset of war. Simultaneously, the global economy was reeling. The Great Depression of the 1930s had left economies worldwide in a state of chaos, creating conditions ripe for authoritarian regimes and territorial aggression. Economic instability, coupled with political unrest, further set the stage for conflict. Lastly, the failure of collective security played a significant role. The League of Nations, established after World War I to prevent another global conflict, proved ineffective in the face of Nazi Germany's actions. Its inability to enforce peace agreements or punish aggressors ultimately undermined its authority and effectiveness. These factors intertwined, creating a complex web of causes that led to the outbreak of World War II. Each one, on its own, might not have been enough to ignite a global conflict, but together, they created a tinderbox waiting for a spark. That spark came with the invasion of Poland by Germany in 1939. The invasion of Poland by Germany in 1939 marked the beginning of the deadliest conflict in human history. World War II, a war that saw the world divided and millions lost to the horrors of the Holocaust. This global conflict began with Germany's invasion of Poland in September of 1939. This act of aggression was the spark that ignited the powder keg, leading Britain and France to declare war on Germany. Germany, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, quickly swept across Europe using a military tactic known as blitzkrieg, or lightning war. This strategy relied on rapid, concentrated attacks, intended to surprise and quickly overwhelm the enemy's defenses. The Axis powers, which included Italy and Japan alongside Germany, were expanding their territories at an alarming rate. While Europe was grappling with the onslaught of the Axis powers, in the east, Japan was pushing the boundaries of its empire. Their aggressive expansionism led to the Pacific War, turning World War II into a truly global conflict. However, the darkest chapter of World War II was undoubtedly the Holocaust. Orchestrated by Nazi Germany, it resulted in the systematic genocide of 6 million Jews. Millions of others, deemed undesirable by the Nazis, were also victims of this horrific atrocity. This unprecedented act of hatred and brutality remains a chilling reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink. But amid the darkness, there were glimmers of hope. The Allied powers, which included the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom, began to push back against the Axis powers. With a combination of strategic alliances, decisive battles, and resolute determination, they gradually turned the tide of the war. The final blow came with the dropping of atomic bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. The devastating power of these new weapons brought Japan to surrender, marking the end of World War II. The Allies' victory marked the end of World War II, but the world was forever changed. The war had claimed the lives of millions and reshaped the political and social landscape of the globe. It was a war that tested the resilience of humanity and forever scarred the annals of our history. In the span of 3 decades, the world witnessed 2 global wars that forever changed the course of history. From the entangled alliances and nationalism that sparked the First World War, to the harsh Treaty of Versailles and the rise of fascism that ignited the Second World War, each conflict was a product of its time, deeply rooted in the political, social, and economic dynamics of the era. World War I, born from the complex web of alliances, imperialism, nationalism, and militarism, was marked by the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, triggering a chain reaction that plunged the world into a devastating conflict. The war stretched beyond the borders of Europe, bringing colonies and dominions into the fray, until exhaustion, economic strain, and internal unrest led to the collapse of Central Powers, culminating in the Armistice of November 11, 1918. The Second World War, however, was fueled by the resentment sown by the Treaty of Versailles. The rise of fascism and Nazism, economic instability, and the failure of collective security. The invasion of Poland by Germany in September 1939 marked the beginning, followed by swift and aggressive expansion of Axis powers. The darkest chapter of this war was the Holocaust, a systematic genocide that claimed the lives of 6 million Jews and millions of others. The tide eventually turned with the resilience and unity of the Allied powers, leading to the eventual defeat of the Axis. As we reflect on these events, we are reminded of the profound impact that war has on humanity and the importance of striving for peace.